This is the 20th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning, and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. And yes, we have an in-studio guest all the way from Texas, CJ Glenn. Thank you for jumping on BTL this morning with us.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
I've talked about it before. The Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, we have an awesome auction that goes along with the induction ceremony each fall. Had Mark Zona on the show yesterday talking about his induction along with the other four anglers. And so last year, one of the things that they do is they do all sorts of cool trips. Like I bid personally, I don't know if I was allowed to, but I bid on it, a frog gigging trip with Hall of Famer himself, Steve Bowman, who when I was just up in Minnesota this past week, actually met the lovely couple that outbid me for that trip. And then I would say that there were a bunch of trips. There's a trip with Ben Milliken. You saw his video on YouTube. It went for like $17,000. And I think they caught a couple 10-pounders when they were out there. We're going fishing after this. I cannot promise, CJ, that we are going to put our hands on a 10-pounder. We are going to make quite a bit of a drive, but we're going to a place that has them. So originally it was the BTL Experience. You jump in, co-host BTL, and then we go crappie fishing. But we had a few cold ones last night, and you were like, hey, man, like, you know, I'm kind of about that bass fishing.
Yeah, man. When you say there's 12 to 13 pounders swimming around, I'm like, let's do it.
There is. It's really cool. You know, there's a lot of lakes in the area, and we're seeing it in Texas. That's kind of your neck of the woods, and we're going to talk about that in the first segment. And then we're going to get a longtime Major League Baseball player and recent tackle shop owner and tournament series host in Texas, Brandon Belt. He's got the show series, and then coming up this weekend or this next weekend on Rayburn is the Grand Slam, raising money for charity. Crazy payout. It's $100,000 payout, I think, isn't it? Is it based on 325 boats or something like that? Or 50,000? It's crazy payout. So we're going to get Brandon on to talk about what would possess him to enter the wonderful world of high stakes tournament bass fishing.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that Grand Slam, like if you win it, first place is a premium bass cat boat, and I believe it's $60,000 cash. So, and I believe the boat's an Era. So from Bass Cat.
Bass Cat. So we also have a little trifecta of Bass Cat going on, because I know Brandon, when he got into this, I was doing a little research. Like his first boat's a Bass Cat. Bass Cat's a big part of his series. You got the cat hat on, and then we're going fishing in the Cougar as soon as this is over. I'm getting you've got the STS though.
Yes, sir.
The STS. So that's what I'm getting at the end of the month. I can't wait to pick it up. I'm excited. You said that I'm gonna love it.
You're gonna love it, dude. Like, it's in my opinion, it's probably the best boat they build. Like, all around boat. It's awesome.
Really?
Stability, overall speed, fishability. It's the deal.
Man, I made it 5 minutes in. I had the music playing for the first minute and a half, so we had a little ambient music in the back. We're good now. Sorry, guys. Where are you from down in Texas then?
I'm born and raised in Midland, Texas, and now I live in Belton. It's about an hour south of Waco and just north of Austin.
Belton's got a pretty good lake right there, right?
Can be. Well, we have two lakes. We have a Belton Lake and then Stillhouse Hollow.
Okay.
So, Stillhouse is the better lake. It's got the good ones.
Yeah, we can't talk. There's a whole bunch of lakes. It's kind of like Oklahoma too. Like there's a little there's some lakes that are popping off both at Oklahoma and Texas. It's cool over the past 5 years. Does it seem to you? So it seems to me, you know, growing up and even up until the last couple years, like an 8 was like, holy cow, did you see so-and-so caught an 8? It seems like over the past couple years, 8s are now just a decent fish, and like 10s are the standard for like a big fish. It's crazy how the big fish have popped off, like 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s, 14s. I know my buddy Rick Harris down there, he's caught a couple over 14 over the past couple of years. Have you noticed that, or has that always been going and it's just more prevalent because of social media? Or
I think it's more prevalent because of social media. You know, growing up, of course, Ivy's well known now. So I used to have a place down there at Ivy, and we used to have all these radio tournaments down there, and like 8-pounders would hardly win you an hour. Like it would take more than that. And that
what years was that?
It was early 2000s.
Oh, so Ivy's been good for a while.
Ivy's been good forever, dude.
Really?
Like when they first impounded it. So I was told, like when the lake first started filling up, when Berkeley came out with the 100-pack worms and stuff like that, majority of that was because of Ivy, supposedly, because you would catch so many fish. And they was one of the first, like Lake Fork was their little deal where they did all the stock ponds and filled the lake, and they did that on Ivy too. And they put brute stock in the lake, and Ivy's always had genetics.
And it's just so hard to get to, or something like that. Like why hasn't it had the famousness of like a Fork or a,
because it never had the social media. Like if you ever go down there and you go to Elm Creek and you look at all the pictures of all the fish, like 2000 or 2009, 2008, they went through the same cycle. I mean, they were catching sharelunkers like crazy, and then the lake got low, like kind of the same cycle we're going in now, kind of like a falcon. When the lake goes low, the kind of fishing kind of gets bad, lake comes up. It's a new lake cycle.
Yeah.
A lot of them, like West Texas, go through that deal.
That new lake cycle is interesting. I was talking to Steve Kennedy one time about that, and he was saying that green equals energy.
Yes.
So when the lake goes down and all of the green stuff grows up, the little trees and bushes and all that a lake's health depends on how much energy and how much nutrients are put into that lake. So when it goes down, the fishing sucks, the green grows back, and then when it floods and the bass have those genetics, there's so much more nutrients and energy in that lake because of all that greenery that it's the cycle of life just takes off. And if you've had if you basically had high water, then low water for a couple years, and then it comes back up, you have a couple good spawn cycles, those smaller fish, so you have a good population. The green gets covered, there's tons of energy, the bait fish flourish, the bass flourish, they're protected because you've got a lot of timber in a hard to reach area in the country, and it just explodes. And it's a great recipe to catch the biggest bass of your life.
And a lot of the lakes, like Ivy back in the day used to have deep hydrilla, used to have hydrilla all the way up to like 20, 25.
Is there any grass in it now?
Not anymore.
Really?
It used to be like when it was 20 foot low or higher, you would get hydrilla. Once it got below that, whatever with the soil, it would never grow. But like that's one of the deals with the lakes where I live around. Like the lakes that have grass in it are always the powerhouses. Like Amstead, back when they had good grass and everything else, it was a powerhouse. And when the grass died, it just.
Did you fish? So you and I are about the same age. When Amistad was popping off, we were in our early 20s.
Yeah.
Like when it was good, when we first realized it was good. I'm sure it was good the years before. Were you down there fishing?
Yeah.
Did you get the prime of Amistad?
I did. I didn't catch the giants like everybody else did, but yeah, I was down there for all that. It was cool. The only lake I missed out on was Falcon. Like I missed out on that. I got the tail end of a little bit of that, but yeah, I fished Amstead like throughout. I fished the Permian Basin Bass Club out of Odessa, Texas, and we'd go there almost every other month.
So, like I said, I covered like when Jason Williamson won on that big Osprey, but that's when everyone bought property down there. Eddie Brower, Velvic, and I think Ish went in, or I don't know if it was, but Velvic went in on that big lodge down there. A bunch of guys bought property. Kurt Dove moved down there. He's still down there. Guides down there occasionally. Check out Bass Edge Radio for you guys if you want some other good content. I think he's got some good stuff coming out, and he's also on YouTube now. But I mean, I heard the stories like you would roll a bait over a treetop and it was so clear, and it would be like lemmings just coming out, and you would just have a pack of 30 or 45 and 6-pounders following the bait, fighting over. Is that true?
Yeah. It was nuts, dude. Like
really,
you'd jerk a jerk bait over them freaking deals, and they would it was unreal. like a swim bait. And like the big deal for back then for me was a Senko, like the big Senkos, like the 7-inchers, and like getting in those drains with grass and just smoking them. But like whenever I first started going down there, so the 277 bridge kind of runs over kind of San Pedro area, like kind of headed to Del Rio.
Yep.
Like when I first started going down there, there was no water in there. And then the next time, like everything, it seemed like
the bridge you have to cross over when you're going to, like when you come from
Sonora,
north, and you cross it, and it's like got that broken down bridge on the backside of it and stuff. Okay, yeah. That's
so
a great. I like that.
Yeah, no, it's a good area. It's got that
when it's got water in it.
No, yeah, for sure. But like when I first started going down there was no water in it, and then it seemed like we had a couple of hurricanes or tropical storms or something, and like every time I'd come back down there, like the water was a little higher and higher and higher and higher. And like I remember like going down there, and of course I was young. Like you go down there with a pack of worms or whatever, and then like there was green bushes everywhere. You just launch a ramp and just go fishing. You go through a pack of worms by lunch. Like, and then you like, so like all the tackle shops down there, like the Senko was a deal, but all the tackle shops started pouring their own worms and everything else just to keep up with demand. So no, it was an incredible time. And then like when the Vixen first came out, so the fisherman headquarters at Chevron Station at the Y, they had a tackle shop and they started carrying the Vixens. And like, I wish I could go back in time and buy them things. Cause like I got like 4 or 5 left. Yeah, dude, like that. Yeah, that's the deal. That's how mine look. Yeah. But like when they first started coming out, like you just twitch them things over the freaking bushes, and dude, it was.
Dude, I got a good topwater story from Amistad. So Kurt Dove does the youth camp out there. This is probably like 6-7 years ago. So it's gone through a couple upswings recently, but it's just hasn't come back to the way it used to be. But you catch 100 fish a day. And, you know, you're lucky to catch a 3 or 4 pounder. It just kind of depends on the year, it seems. I know Denny's down there. He still catches giants every now and then.
Well, he's Denny Brower.
Yeah, he's Denny Brower. So, and so they do a tournament for scholarships. Yeah. And I had, at the end, they kind of decide where they want to go and stuff. So both of the kids wanted to throw whopper ploppers. And we ended up in that area where you're talking about, but they were on like a point that had some of those little stick ups. And a wolf pack of like 3 to 4 pounders came through, and it was like the only one we'd seen all week. And so he casts his plopper out, and it hits the water, and one goes, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I got it!" And it comes up and jumps, and then it goes down, and another 4 pounder grabs it. It's a 3 fish limit for these kids, so he reels it in, and he nets like a 3 3/4 and a 4 pounder all at once, laid in the bottom of the boat on the same cast. Freaking out. I got it on video. Like I sent it to his mom and posted it on social media and stuff. And then like the very next cast, he catches another 3. The kid in the back of the boat catches a 3. For like 7 casts they caught, I wasn't fishing, 8 fish. They finished first and second in it. And then we didn't get a bite the rest of the day.
Wow.
It was just like a singular wolf pack of those 3 or 4s. And like, I vividly remember that to this day.
Yeah. No, I love Amstead. That's still
his name was Hayes Marshbanks. I even remember his name. Now his little brother goes to the camp cruise.
Oh, but dang. No, I love Amstead. That's still my favorite lake. Anytime I ever get to go down there, man, it just brings back a lot of special memories.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? I mean, you're a Texas local and all this, you kind of know. What are your thoughts on all the social media and all the videos and all the guys who are targeting the giants now out in Texas? That's kind of like a new era of bass fishing. Guys paying thousands of dollars to go out for days and basically like trophy hunting. Yeah,
I think it's awesome. I think it's cool. I work for a company, and it's in the oil industry, but like my client, the company we take care of, like they all like to fish. So Rick Harris, he works for Hammer Guide Service or whatever.
Hill Country Hammers.
Yeah. So like I've reached out to them. I want to try to take them down to Ivy or one, they have the chase the bite deal.
Yeah.
So like I want to take some customers down there and go do that, and it's all about the experience, right? Yeah. My deal with all that is the anglers, I wish they would learn to take care of the fish better.
As far as like handling them?
Yes. Yeah. Fizzing the fish, taking care of them. You catch them out of deep, using forward facing, you catch them out of deep water. and you see these guys with the fish, and you ride them around in a live well all day to take a glory pick, and they're just laying up on the sides.
A great point. That's not talked about much. Like
No,
the muskie anglers, they have it down. They've got the giant nets. They measure them in the water. They have the cradles for them. They never are out of the water. I mean, you're dealing with a freak show, a 12 to 14 pounder. That's a great point.
It's a special fish, and the guys that are doing this stuff, you know they're not fizzing them. Mm-hmm. Because they show them in the live well and they're just laid up on their side, and you see their post, and people bring it up every so often in their post, and they're like, I'm just going to let the professionals take care of it. But you're turning the fish loose in the lake that can't get upright in the live well. How do you expect them to get back down the 20, 30 foot?
Yeah.
You got to take care of the fish, because if you don't do that and you take the genetics out of that lake, that's just going to die.
Yeah, it is amazing what Texas Parks and Wildlife have done with some of those fisheries down there. I don't know. I'm sure there's all sorts of politics, just like there is with the GRDA up in Oklahoma here. But from afar looking at it, it's impressive how many double digits Texas pumps out. It feels like Texas has made a resurgence as of late over the past 5 years.
Yeah, I think a lot of that. I mean, the water came up in a lot of lakes and kind of got that new lake effect that we talked about. And then a lot of lakes in East Texas are starting to get grass again. So I think that's a big deal. Like Toledo.
You're a big fan of grass.
Yeah, I love grass.
You were asking where we're going today. You're like, you got any lakes around here that have grass in it? And I'm like, we're kind of in Oklahoma, dude. Yeah. Like you're few and far between.
That's a lifeblood, dude. Like you can tell, like when Toledo didn't have any grass, it kind of went off the radar.
Yeah.
Now that's got grass again, it's back on the radar.
It was 6-7 years ago that there wasn't a stitch of grass in it?
They sprayed it, and then they said it flooded and ripped it all out, but they sprayed it. They sprayed everything.
I had heard rumors they were supposed to spray one section, and then whoever did it just came in and just nuked the entire thing, and everybody was like, what the hell? Like you weren't supposed to nuke the whole thing, and they were like, oh, sorry, too late now.
There was videos. There was videos out there of these guys in airboats spraying trees. They get paid, I guess, whatever. They get paid, as soon as they run out of chemical, they're done for the day or whatever. So whatever.
So they just start spraying.
Yeah, they're like, let's get it done.
I'd never seen a spray boat before. When I was at Toho, I went in the back of one of the lakes around there, and they were spraying.
Yeah.
It's intense. Okay, dude's in a suit, it's like Ghostbusters out there. And then you go into an area that has been sprayed, like we, down at Okeechobee or Toho, and man, it just decimates everything.
Yeah,
it just kills. There's no way. I know it says it doesn't affect the fish or anything. In my mind, there's no way that doesn't kill stuff that it's not supposed to kill.
Yeah. Well, if you ever want a good talk about something like that, you need to reach out to Terry Odom out of Texas, because
the Oldham jig.
Yeah, you need to talk to Terry about that, because he tried to fight that a long time ago, back in the day, and so.
Like the dude who made the famous jig with the giant weed guard and the hook that when they went down to Texas back in the day, and now you always stop and you get your Oldham jigs and you look at it and you're like, dude, this thing could catch a shark.
Yeah, Terry,
yeah, those things are awesome.
Yeah, no, that's why I still throw spinnerbaits though, 1 ounce of Oldham spinnerbaits and stuff. Yeah. I mean, they're the deal. They're awesome. But no, he put up a good fight back in the 90s and 2000s around that time, and yeah, the things he told me is they put a coating, when they spray it back in the creeks, so they keep the fish kill population down, is what it kind of came down to. But then it flows down the creeks and the rivers, and then he said it actually puts a coating on the bottom, and it prevents grass from growing for however many years, is how it's supposed to work.
Huh. That can't be healthy. It's interesting. I feel like as a group, bass fishermen, we're very passionate about it, and if it affects our direct lake, we'll get involved in it.
Yeah.
We've got Gene Gilliland coming on the show March 12th, who's conservation director, who did it in Oklahoma for a long time, Bass Fishing Hall of Fame member. Now works full time with BASS on that type of stuff. So he's very proactive when it comes to trying to get involved. And he said it's so hard to get people to get excited about conservation, to get excited about stuff, especially when it indirectly impacts you, like Scott down at Okeechobee and what's going on down there. It's easy to just not think about it, but it's hard because this is our resource. This is what we love to do.
Yeah.
If it's gone, it's gone. So it's hard. I don't think we figured out a way to really kind of, energize
Yeah.
the bass fishing community as a whole. Like if we were about conservation as enthusiastic as we debate forward facing sonar technology, like our lakes would be in such better shape.
Well, the thing about that, Matt, is bass fishermen as a whole, we ain't got no money to fight. And like a lot of lakes in Texas that they've put grass carp or killed the grass and things like that, they have multi-million-dollar homes on these things, movie stars and everything else. A boat dock will cost $2 million, and they have the money to lobby and go forth with what they want to do. And when it comes down to it, us bass fishermen as a small group, the guys that want to do this, we ain't got the money to fight it.
You're a tournament angler too.
Oh, yeah.
Just had a good tournament on
Conroe.
Top 15 finish there in the Brandon Belt. The show stopped number 2 at the end of February. Tournament scene in Texas to me is one of the top 3 state. I don't think I know it is. I would say the 4 biggest states for team tournaments would be, and in no particular order, Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Florida. And you can throw in the West Coast. Not so much team tournaments, but they do like the AAA stuff out there with the BAM tournament that just started and what Billy does with One Bass and stuff. But Texas is known for high money team tournaments. The Triple T, Bass Champs, and now this Brandon Belt series that kicked off last year. How long have you been fishing that type of stuff? And what would you say the health of team tournaments? I know I talked to Castledine about this sometimes, but the health of team tournaments in Texas is right now.
I've been fishing team tournaments, Bass Champs majority in Texas Team Trail for probably 2010-ish, somewhere in there.
So yeah, you've been around a minute.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get to fish them a lot, working in the oil field 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off. I miss a lot of stuff. But I fish as many as I can, and the majority of it's in East Texas. But no, I've been fishing a bunch. I think the health of it's starting to get really good. I mean, this Brandon Belt deal, I think it's challenging everybody else to step up a little bit.
Just as far as payouts and schedule?
Payout and schedule, probably.
Okay.
I think, Bass Champs, Skeeter bumped up their contingency through there, and then they adjusted their payouts just a little bit. Brandon Belt, I think it's just it's a high dollar, entry fee, $1,200. And if you signed, so they ran a promo kind of deal. Like if you signed up for all of them, you sign up, I think dropped the price down to like $1,000 for all the, tournaments, and you split it. And then they have an optional side pot money, $200 a team, and side pots. I mean,
everybody
awesome.
Gets in that, don't they?
No.
Not everybody gets in the side pot.
Like,
why would you spend $1,200, spend all that time, practice, go fish, and then be like, no, I'm good for the side pot.
Yeah, dude. Like, and it's crazy. Like, I just don't get it. Like, it's $100 per angler, and it's all free money. It's 100% payback. So, but no, I mean, the tournament scene's good, man. It's, there's a lot of, jackpots every weekend. It's, Rayburn from like January until probably first of summer, it's going to be, there's multiple tournaments a weekend, and Toledo's probably going to be the same. And, back home, media bass and just jackpot tournaments going on everywhere, dude. So I think on the smaller scale, I think there's too many of them, but it is what it is.
Does it surprise you how well those big lakes, specifically Rayburn and Toledo, take pressure and still keep pumping out fish so consistently? Because to me, it's really impressive.
Yeah.
Those things are like bass factories. Like Gunnersville's the same right now. Like, dude, you go to Gunnersville. Have you ever fished Gunnersville?
No.
You go to Gunnersville any day of the week, especially when the bite's on, like everything is packed. Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, doesn't matter. But I mean, right now, you could say Gunnersville is healthy as it's ever been, especially if you look at the weights it's kicking out and the guys that I'm talking to down there. Kind of the same deal with Rayburn and Toledo. Or do you think they do feel the pressure?
No, they feel the pressure, but it kicks out the fish though. I mean, there ain't no doubt about it. Tim Renault, like buddy of mine, like he's always said, he's fished Rayburn forever. He's like, you go during the middle of the week, like when everybody leaves, like the fishing gets pretty good. Then all of a sudden, like Thursday, Friday, when boats start zipping around, like the fishing gets a little, like they just kind of tuck down. But no, it feels the pressure. It has to. It just has to. I mean, you get in some of them creeks and there's just boats everywhere.
This started with the Hall of Fame discussion, and then we just took a deep dive into Texas fishing, which I was excited, when I was talking to you last night. I was like, dude, I've wanted to do a show on this, so this is absolutely perfect. And then to get Brandon on here in a couple minutes. Also, at the end of the show, just like we did last week, Jonny Schultz from the Deep Dive app from Fish the Moment will be on. We'll keep it with the Texas theme. Lake Fork for the Bassmaster Elite Series this week kicks off on Thursday, and Jonny has, for all those people who remember last time, he's got, I'm looking at bar graphs, pie charts, circle graphs, all sorts of cover. He's got the lake clarity, all sorts of stuff for Lake Fork. So we'll see how that goes down. Like he even admitted, I called him afterwards after the Toledo tournament, and I was like, dude, like, do we even have to do baits anymore? Especially early in the year. It's like jerk bait and Demiki rig or any of that. Have you gotten into the Demiki stuff yet?
Yeah, man. Like I've dove into that, and that's kind of, I've tried every time I go out just fun fishing. Like I try to learn as much as I can with that technology and those techniques. There's too many fish just doing other things, So yeah, I've dove into it. I haven't had much success. That kind of shows how it's just not turning on and you're gonna catch fish.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like that. We're gonna mess with that today. That open on Washita, I really dove in and committed to it. And then, if you watch what went down on Rayburn or at Toledo, it's amazing how big of a difference micro adjustments make.
Yeah.
Like 3/8 to quarter to 3/16, a darter head to a ball head, a paddle tail to a straight tail, a 4-inch bait to a 3-inch bait, and then
leader length like Koya.
That blew my mind with the 30-pound test and then the 16 to slow that fall rate. Where I was doing like a 15-foot section at 8. Like, God, heaven forbid they see that line and he's there. I mean, he was cracking on them. Like when he set the hook, just absolutely leaning into those suckers.
Yeah. It's kind of wild. You think about, just like Toledo Bend, Hackney and Christie up there fishing traditional and not doing very well. Just think how that tournament would have went down. Like if forward facing wasn't around, and it wouldn't have taken 100 pounds to win. It probably
14 and a half, 15 a day would have been probably a mid-20s or 30s finish. And you put all those guys up there, someone will crack a big one. It'd probably taken 17, 18 a day to win that thing, and they'd be like, oh, it's a good transitional period. They're not quite up there. We should have been here next week when they moved up.
Them fish are just out there. They're out there somewhere. They're hanging in the creek channel somewhere.
But just to wrap up the Hall of Fame, so you bid on two you've been on 2 trips, the BTL Experience, which we're in the middle of now, and then you been on the Greg Hackney Sasquatch hunting trip.
Dude, that'd been so fun.
That would have been awesome.
It would have been a blast, dude. No, these were the 2 I wanted to. Those were the 2 I wanted to do, and like I'm a long time listener to BTL, so it just worked out, man.
Before we take a break, you did bring in some cool jig heads, and I'm all about like new cool stuff. Let me pop this out. So just talk me through what those are.
So these are the new Renault tackle swim bait heads.
Like Tim Renault, the guy fished professionally and been around forever.
He made that really cool thing you like, that lateral perch.
Yeah, now I feel bad about it. I did that at Bass After Dark on the worst baits of all time.
No, it's just a unique bait, man. Fish it like a football jig. But no, these jig heads, they actually align through, and they come with in the pack. They come with a swivel and a ring, and you actually feed your line through, put a bobber stop on, and you tie your split ring on, and your knot and everything sets inside the head, so your knot's not exposed.
It's like a line through swim bait head.
And then it comes with a swivel, so you can rig up a blade or a treble hook as a stinger hook, or you can rig up 2. You can put a heavier on the bottom and put you a leader line.
Oh, I see that. So that swivel goes right in the back like that, and then you can just put a
it attaches
blade on the back or
attaches to your little ring, and then you can rig up 2 for, like, you can't use it in the opens or somewhere like that, but like Toyotas or just fun fishing forward facing or over grass, you rig up 2, you always put the heavier one on the bottom, and they'll get a great hook on them. You're not going to bend that thing out. You got a screw lock on there, so you ain't got to worry about putting super glue.
Have you ever done the smallmouth thing? Like up in Thousand Islands and stuff?
No, I want to. A couple of buddies of me, we want to go up there this summer and go do that. But no, we got some Texas smallmouth in Belton. You're like 4 or 5 pounds, but nothing like that.
Are they like dark and tigered up, or are they like tan?
They're tan.
Really?
Yeah, they're kind of like Texoma smallmouth.
Dude, I've never gotten on just like a Texoma beat down on smallmouth. I always talk to my buddies who are like, oh man, I just freaking like 20 pounds on top, or I just went down this stretch of rock and cranked up 18 with a 6, or they were blasting the swim bait. Have you ever gotten on like a really good Texoma smallmouth bite?
No, me and Texoma do not get along. Me and that lake, we hate each other.
All right. Brandon, there's Brandon right there. We are going to take our first break of the show in studio with CJ Glenn. Once we're done, we are headed to the lake to fish. But when we come back, probably the guy behind, I would say it, the hottest team tournament trail going in the country right now.
Yeah, has to be.
Yeah.
I think you're crazy not to look at it.
Absolutely. Brandon Belt, when we come back, it is BTL on a Wednesday, and we'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top on Strike King.
Any fish, any water.
Welcome back. BTL on a Wednesday. CJ Glenn in the house talking all things Texas. That worked out nicely because that was a show that I have had planned for a long time. And then you just happened to be like right in the middle of it. So one of the things I said, who do you want to have on the show as a guest when you co-host BTL? And you said, oh man, let me think about it. And you said, yeah, I just did well in that. I'm sure it's like recency bias since you like not only got a good check, but then you got like every contingency known to man down there. You were like, we finished 13th and had over like $5,500 for a 13th place finish in a team tournament.
Yeah, man, it was really good. But, it really wasn't that. It was just, God, we need this thing to survive. We need to get it out there. Basscat puts a lot into it.
Yep.
Then Tackle Addict puts a lot. Pro Guide Batteries do a deal. Promo on it, like a Tackle Addict. If you walk across the stage and you have a Tackle Addict and then you buy a Bass Mafia or something from Tackle Addict, you get freaking money for that.
There you go.
Well,
let's bring in Brandon Belt. Very successful in his career, and I mean, I would like to know what would possess a man at this point in his life to want to get into the tackle game and the high stakes team tournament fishing game, because having grown up in this, it's very rewarding, but also a lot of headaches. So. Let's bring him in right now. Brandon, you got us?
I got you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you. Got you good. Sitting here with CJ, who I think you just handed a check to last weekend down at Conroe.
Yeah, I think I handed them a couple checks, did really well. And I appreciate y'all having me on. Thanks for suggesting me, CJ. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, man.
Yeah, it's a long time coming. So I know Brian Robinson fairly well. And we just went to St. Jude a couple months ago, and he's like, dude, you got to get Brandon on. I know that it made big waves when you guys took ownership of Tackle Addict down there, probably one of the premier tackle shops in that. CJ, it is the premier tackle shop in the entire Texas, isn't it?
It's nuts, man. So like, I hadn't been to Rayburn in several years, and I was down there for the belt tournament in Rayburn. And I walked in and Brian was there. So, I haven't seen Brian since 2019. We roomed together during the Costas, and dude, that the whole tackle shop is just changed and it's unreal. They have a big Japanese market section.
The JDM stuff is impressive.
The freaking swim bait selection. It's just everything. Like, it's top notch and like, it's unreal.
All right, Brandon, I've done a little research. I read a little bit about it. You're fairly new to the game. Long time major leaguer with the Giants and the Jays still. And what would possess you to buy a tackle shop and get in the tournament game? Talk me through that decision, because dude, like, tackle shop owning, like, was that a deal where Brian talked you into it, or something where you just dove headfirst into this game?
Honestly, I think it was the other way around.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess to start off, for people that don't know, I really didn't grow up fishing that much. My knowledge of fishing really was, getting a worm and a bobber or catching a cricket or something and go fishing on a pond. And that wasn't too exciting to me. I didn't love it that much at the time. And then my baseball coach in high school, Glenn Kimball, who is also my tournament director now, he was trying to get me to go fishing with him on Rayburn for so long. And I just kind of pushed it aside. Didn't really want to. Didn't have any interest in it. And then COVID happened and didn't have anything else to do. So I kind of gave in one day, and he took me out on a lake and we were throwing a frog. And ever since that first hit, like I'm not literally, but I've been hooked. I can't get enough of fishing. And I really owe it all to him for getting me out there on the lake. And it was just, it was really fun for me. And it cost me a lot of money because I ended up buying a lake house on Rayburn, ended up buying a bass boat, bought a pontoon, bought some jet skis. So I'm all in lake life right now. That's awesome. Jumped into the tournament scene and Tackle Addict. And I'm with Danny Cross doing cross baits as well. And I've enjoyed every second of it.
Do you remember your first tournament? Like, your first tournament you jumped in, like the takeoff and that whole scenario? Like, did that get the competitive juices flowing?
Yeah. And, honestly, just fun fishing for me gets the juices flowing, because I'm really competing against myself every time, trying to catch something bigger every time I go out there. And I hadn't found a whole lot of stuff outside of baseball that gives me that adrenaline rush like I get when I catch a big fish. So I think that's what really brings me to it, is just the chance that when I go out on the lake, I can catch, my personal best, or really what I'm going for. I'm going for the lake record everywhere I go. And I feel like I'm lucky. So sometimes you never know. You just show up in the right spot. You might catch the biggest fish out there. Yeah. So that's what really kind of brings me to fishing so much is that the idea that I can catch something bigger and better every time. What's
your PB so far?
I caught an 8.5 pounder on Rayburn. That was a couple of years ago. And
that's strong.
Honestly, I'm gone usually by the end of February, and I don't really get to fish at all until I get back in October. Right. So, which really hurts a little bit because I want to throw a frog so much. That's like my favorite thing to do. And I don't get to do it a whole lot before I leave and when I get back. Mm-hmm. But, I enjoy every second of it when I'm home, and I usually go with somebody that's been on the water a little bit and kind of knows where to go. But when I get there, I try to catch all their fish. I want to catch something bigger and better. I do not want to get beat. And sometimes I'm able to do it, but like I said, it's just for me, it's a lot of fun fishing.
A lot of team tournaments that go on in Texas. We talked about the Triple T Bass Champs, a lot of history behind that, guys who fish it. You come in last year to the end of 2022, 2023, and same. I want to shake things up with another team series. You talk about the payout. You can go to brandonbeltfishing.com. Here, I'll pull up the website right now. Talk about what made you want to get into the tournament game in probably the most storied and competitive team tournament area in the country.
Yeah, so, it started out with our Grand Slam, and I think the idea for that was I just wanted to do something really cool on Rayburn that nobody had done, really. Just wanted to do something exciting, and I kind of asked around and just to see if it was possible, and I kind of got hooked up with the right people, and Ryan Williams over at Ross Motorsports helped me get that started. And, I didn't know how high I could go. I didn't know, like, what would be a good payout, that would get people excited. And I was like, can I do, $100,000 for first place? And they were like, yes, absolutely, you can. And so that was kind of the start of it. And we started with the Grand Slam, and then people just, the guys I was with were like, hey, you can turn this into a team series if you wanted to. I was like, well, yeah, of course I do. But the whole idea was just to give anglers another option. I wanted to do something different and give the guys who spend a lot more time and money to give them a chance to win more money. So, and I kind of noticed that right away when I got into fishing is how much time and money these more serious anglers were putting into their craft. And they got me, just got me thinking, like, that's what I did as a baseball player. And, I just wanted to give them that option if they wanted it to go make more money. And so far it's kind of taken off a little bit. So it's been good.
CJ, I mean, you're one of those guys who had fished everything else when this came about. Pretty easy decision once you saw the payout and all that to jump in it. And then just talk a little bit about your experience fishing it last year and then going into this year.
Well, yeah, whenever it first came out. So I work a 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off schedule. You've had 2 Grand Slams so far.
Yeah.
So the first 2 I've been working for. So I've watched it, and I've had my partner Garrett Thomas. He's fished the first 2, and just told me how great it was. And then the first team series came up, and of course my work schedule. I think the only one I was going to make is Palestine, and I've never been there before, and I was kind of on the edge of just jumping in on it. But when the schedule came out for this year, I'm like, I'm doing it. Like, I got to. And so last year the team numbers were down. Like, people weren't committing to it, and seeing Brandon in the group commit to the payouts and commit to the anglers and we're going to make this thing work. And I think it's really set stone with all the anglers, because we had 140, 145 at Rayburn. We had 150 boats at Conroe. Like, we as anglers, we need this thing to sustain. We need this. The payouts are incredible. Bass Cat boats are behind it. Pro Guide, Tackle Out. I mean, we got so many great people behind it, supporting the anglers. And
then there's also, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't there also like a philanthropic angle to this, where last year you guys raised over $200,000 for Father's Heart Orphanage through just this kind of one-off Grand Slam event? So not only the payout, but also kind of giving back to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big part of what I like doing. And, as far as the Father's Heart, that just kind of got thrown in our lap because we were working with Fishers of Men, and that's a charity that they used with their company. So, I didn't know much about it at first, but once I started talking to the guys and learned more about the orphanage, I absolutely fell in love with it. And it was a great cause. And I think moving forward, I'd love to have it to where every single tournament we do, we're able to donate to a charity or even a local charity of the area that we're in, especially if we move off to different regions. But, I think that's important to me, and I guess a big reason that it's important to me is because, honestly, I don't know if I would be where I am if I didn't have some help along the way. And I've been very fortunate in my career, and been able to make a little money, and, I want to help other people get to where they want to go as well. And, just realizing that there's a lot of people out there that are worse off than what I have right now and what I had growing up. and just to give them maybe a leg forward is a huge part of Brandon Belt Fishing. And everybody on my team, it feels the exact same way. So I know I got a great group of people working with me. And that's it's really what gets us excited. And this year we won't be doing the Father's Heart Orphanage. I'll be donating to that myself. And if people want to do that, I would highly encourage them to do it because they're doing great stuff down there. But we'll be donating to Harold's House in Lufkin, Texas, which helps physically and sexually abused kids. So it's a great organization as well. We'll be donating all of our sponsorship money from the Grand Slam to them, and we're going to try to put on a party as well, or a gala or something to raise money for them in the near future.
Cool. All right, couple things, and then I want to know about the future of this. The first one, and I'll pull this up. Was it your idea for the belts, for the championship, like the WWE, the World Championship belts for the winners and stuff? Because I'm showing it right there. That's freaking awesome. Like, I want a belt. I want a belt somewhere in the studio that I can like wear around.
Yeah. So I don't know whose idea that was. I think it's more of a collaborative thing. And, because so we would have this, like Sunday evening tournament just amongst friends. And I bought a couple belts for that. Just so I could win it and brag and just wear it all the time when I'm around my buddies after I beat them. But so I think that's kind of where the idea started. And then it just kind of leaked over into our team series and Grand Slam. And then, last year we had different belts for the regular season tournaments and the championship tournaments. And the championship tournaments were the tournament belt was so nice that we kind of upgraded to those for the regular season tournaments this year. And they are really, really cool belts. I mean, they're awesome. It's something that's going to be cool to hang up in your house if you win one.
You got to get your hands on one of those, CJ.
Yeah. I seen them. I was like, dude, that's so sweet.
Oh, yeah. They're heavy, too. I mean, they feel legit.
All right. Second thing is you mentioned something about regions or okay. What's the I don't know where to go with this. But is there potential for expansion for this series? You kind of mentioned something where it sounded, and then there was a comment. Mike, he said, Brandon needs to expand this team series to Florida.
Yeah. So my philosophy or my thought process with all this is to go as big as possible. I just can't, there's nothing in my soul that'll just allow me to do something and stay put. I have to grow it as big as it'll allow me to. At the same time, being mindful of, you can grow too big too quick and kind of ruin yourself. So the idea for the future is to expand as much as I can. Shoot, I'd love to have it all over the country if I could, or as much of the country as, it will be allowed. And, that hadn't changed from day one. I wanted to be as big as possible, go as far as possible. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And it's been it's been successful so far in Texas, and it continues to grow. And really, that's all I wanted to see this year is I wanted to see it move in the right direction. I think we had on average about 80 boats last year. In our first two tournaments, we had 140 and 150. So it's definitely moving in the right direction. I was hoping for 100, or if we got to 100, I was going to be pumped. I was going to be, or 110. I was going to be really excited about that. And the anglers and the support has just blown me away. So it lets us know that we're doing something right, and we're going to keep doing this until we can't do it anymore.
So you've got what? Another good 5 or 6 years left in the major leagues, and then when that chapter of your life is over, is this something that you're wanting to kind of dive into full time, kind of post major league career, and really, or is this just something that's kind of a passion that you'll treat as, or is this like your game plan?
No, this is definitely my game plan. This is what I'll be doing. This is what I'll be doing when I'm done with baseball. And it's really been, this started out, we're doing this stuff for the anglers, and I'm being completely honest in that. I'm not being, cliche or anything. That's the whole reason we started it. And this is an investment for me as well. I mean, I've put a lot of my own resources into this, and I'm proud of it. And I want to. It's mine now. It's ours at Brandon Belt Fishing, and I want to take care of it. And I want to continue to do this for as long as I can. So this is my baby. When I get done with baseball, whenever that is, this is it. This is what I'm going to be doing.
Also, couple partnerships that you have, a lot of support from Bass Cat Boats. I know that's like the only boat that you've rolled with, isn't it?
Yes. And, that kind of stems from, Ross, Ryan up at Ross. They're the number one Bass Cat dealer in the nation. He put me in a Bass Cat early on, and I fell in love with it. I absolutely love it. And then I couldn't just stick with a 250. I had to move up to a 400. Then
wait, are you running a Jag with a 400?
I'm running a Jag with a 450.
No,
currently.
wait. There's like 3 of those in the world. I think I've probably seen your boat. That Rick always had it out there at the dealers meeting and stuff.
Yeah, well, Rick knows too that if he creates more power, that I'm going to buy it. So I think he does it just knowing that I'm going to go up there and buy it from him and have to get it. So that 500's been on my mind for a couple months now.
Get out of here! How fast have you got the Jag with the 450 up to? Safely.
I've only gone to 93 or 94. I can't remember. Jesus. But Rick can get it over 100 easy. And I'm just, like I said, I'm gone for most of the year. So I get in those boats and I'm hitting 94 and I'm like, all right, this is good enough for me right now.
Yeah.
Now, if I got a race, I'm going to do what I got to do. But, for the most part, it's just me getting as fast to a fishing spot as possible.
That's awesome.
For the tournament guys, so like with Bass at MLF, you're limited to 250 at it. But the beauty of the team tournaments, you see that down in Florida a lot. Those guys with like the bullets and those custom built boats with the 300 racing engines on it and stuff. But I would love to spend a day at a 450 with the Jag, because I mean you could literally like build an apartment in the Jaguar. It's that big with that much stuff, and then that 450 on it actually like moves it probably like your STS or my Cougar with that much power behind it.
I think the only bad thing would be paying for the gas at the end of the day, because that 450 would be gone.
Oh yeah.
What do you get, like half a mile a gallon?
Maybe. It depends on who's driving it, but with me, absolutely. If I'm lucky, I'll get half a mile a gallon. But I, honestly thought about moving down to an STS, because I've been in those as well, and those are amazing boats. Yeah. And just the amount of space you have on the deck. And like I said, I go fishing with buddies a lot. So we've had 4 people up on the front before, just no problem. Just slinging rods and lines everywhere. Hadn't got stuck yet, but there's always a first for everything. But so that's the STS is a possibility for me. But then I'm like, who am I kidding? I want that 500.
Yeah.
All right. That Grand Slam is coming up March 7th through 9th on Sam Rayburn. Still, if there are teams that want to register, can they still register?
Absolutely. We're going to cap it at 325 boats. And the first year we had about almost 330. So that's right around probably the most that we would have. But yeah, it's still open, and it's going to be open until 6 o'clock the night before the tournament.
You can go to brandonbeltfishing.com. Really easy to navigate website, and check that stuff out. You got any more questions? I have one more question for him, but I'll save it for the end. What do you got?
No, I mean, I'm just appreciative of everything they're doing for the anglers in Texas, man. Like Brandon said, I mean, it shows. He's doing it for the anglers, and I know I'm not a big name, but man, we really appreciate what you're doing and putting into it, man. We really, really do.
Well, CJ, you're a big name in my book now, so I really appreciate it, man, for you letting me or picking me to come on here with you. I got a question for you though. I want to know how it was at Conroe, and because we didn't have many complaints. I guess the only complaint was that it fished really small, and the limit, the 16-inch limit on bass. How did you feel like that affected you, if any?
Man, we didn't have an issue, man. It fished good. I mean, realistically, with that 16-inch limit, if you were weighing in 14-inch fish, you're nothing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when everybody's weighing in 20 pounds, and then like Castledine and Cecil have a bad day, and then they come in with 23 pounds and freaking top 10 it.
Y'all watch that Castledine. He's always sneaky.
He's something else. But no, I mean, you go to a lake like that's got them like a 16-inch. If you're catching 16 inchers, I mean, you're not even nowhere close to the limit. But no, I think the only thing on Conroe is just the places to stay and the ramps. I mean, but
yeah,
it's a great lake. I mean, it has it. I mean, I fell in love with the place, man. Like I'll definitely be going back and looking for tournaments on Conroe because I like the way it fishes and like the way it sets up. So no, I enjoyed it. It was cool. I wish, hopefully next year we get a tournament closer to Central Texas, kind of LBJ, something that'd be kind of cool.
All right. That's been on our mind. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It is funny. So size limit and size of the lake are the two things that I was complaining about Conroe from 2016 when I fished it the last time. I'm sure you've learned, Brandon, it is impossible to make everybody happy in the world of tournament bass fishing.
No, it's impossible.
That's definitely true, and that's the same for anything though. But I tell you what, we were kind of trying to decide if we were going to go back or not, and it's kind of hard not to when you get 150 boats in your tournament.
Yep.
So I thought it was a great tournament. It was a good turnout.
My last question then. So I know how hard Brian has worked at this craft and jumped in tournaments and dove headfirst in what he's done for the fishing community, especially, with his notoriety with the Vikings and the hook set and the reel it in and stuff. Are you approaching like his skill set? Like, would you consider yourself a better frog fisherman than Brian is now? Like what are you definitely like, if you had to say your strengths where, maybe he thinks he's better, but you definitely think you might have the edge there?
No, I think I'm pretty much better at everything than Brian. I mean, I know that his video guy, and it takes him forever to catch a hook set on video. If I was out there, when the video guy comes with me, it's almost every cast. So there's no doubt in my mind, I'm better at every aspect of fishing than B-Rob. And he can say whatever he wants to, but it's a no-brainer. It's me all the way.
I'm looking forward to like the next 10, 15 years between you two and what you guys are going to do with the tackle shop, what you're going to do with the tournament series. Really cool to see guys who are at the top of their game jump in another game and then watch the learning process all over. And I will say this, you have to be incredibly dedicated to get the top of anything, whether it's business, athletics, that work ethic that allows you to get to the top of one game. It's that same work ethic in fishing. And it's cool to watch guys start at the bottom and enjoy the process of getting better incrementally and incrementally and incrementally. And I think just from interviewing you, that's what you're enjoying right now is, how far you have, where you've come from, and watching that learning process when you're able to dive into it is probably the most rewarding thing about fishing. Is that a fair statement?
Matt, I think you said it perfectly, honestly. I mean, the first time you go through it, like with baseball, I don't think I enjoyed the process as much as I should have. But looking back on it, that's one of the most fun parts of being at the level that we're at is the journey there. And so I think now doing this new journey, we're able to step back. Me and Brian just able to step back and enjoy it a lot more. And it's been a lot of fun. And, you said it. I mean, it takes a lot to get to the level that we've gotten to. And I think we can bring that experience into the tackle industry, the fishing industry. And I think that's, something that gives us kind of a leg up. And man, it's exciting on all fronts right now. And we got some good stuff going. And I'm really excited for the future.
That's awesome.
Well, I greatly appreciate you jumping on. Also, big shout out to B-Rob for hooking this up, and I would love to have you back on BTL again. I know your schedule gets crazy during the season, but next fall during the off season, anything, you're more than welcome to come on BTL. We share a lot of kind of the same sponsors with the Bass Cat, with Pro Guide, really good company there out of the Ozarks, been around for over 40 years. They do a lot of good stuff in the industry. So thank you for the time. Greatly appreciate it, Brandon, and good luck this upcoming weekend. 300 plus boats, the Grand Slam on Sam Rayburn. Go to BrandonBeltFishing.com for more information or to sign up for a team for that. And then also there's still 2 more stops of the show on Cedar Creek and Lake of the Pines in April and May.
Yep. Yeah. And then $100,000 championship on Toledo Bend.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'll be ready for that. But Matt, I really appreciate you having me on, man. I'd love to come back on anytime. CJ, thanks for recommending me to get on here, and I'm proud you're fishing with us, man. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate you showing up and doing this thing with us.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Good luck this season, dude. Like all this stuff's just like kicking off here pretty next, and then it just gets crazy, and then you figure out where the heck you're going, and then you live the next 9 months, and then you come back and you jack some fish on a frog, right? That's how it goes.
That's right, and we'll start all over again. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Have you signed with a baseball team yet?
No, I hadn't signed yet. Still kind of talking to a few teams, trying to figure that out.
Any chance?
But the longer they let me stay here, the less I want to get back out there, the more I want to fish. So I need to hurry up and get something done.
Any chance of Rangers or Astros?
It's CJ going straight Sports Center on you.
I know. Well, we have been talking to the Rangers a little bit. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I think that obviously would be, an ideal situation for me being from Texas. I get to see my family more for sure. But you just don't know, man. It's just this business. It's just like anything can happen at any point in time. So that's what I kind of get prepared for.
Yeah, wherever you end up, at least you got a network now where you can get hooked up with the best bass fishermen in the area. So when you do have like a half day, like you could get dialed in and go jack on a couple.
100%. That's all I'm looking forward to. I mean, if you ever wonder what I'm doing on my off days or after a day game, that's it. I'm fishing. Sorry, I'm at school right now. I was volunteering at my son's school. So
nice. All right. Well, we'll let you get back to it, Brandon. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. See ya. Dude, he kicks ass.
No, dude, he seems like an awesome dude.
Yeah, like I said, that was the first time I talked to him, and it seems like they're like a high-end team trail is one of the hardest things to get off the ground.
No, for sure. I can only imagine. I mean, like you said, you can't make fishermen happy, and but no, I mean, he's doing everything he can.
All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, another guy who's got it going on, Jonny Schultz from the Deep Dive app from Fish the Moment, one of the popular segments that we did last week, broke down what was going to happen on Toledo Bend. We got the Elite Series back with Lake Fork. This is a segment that Jonny will jump on every tournament prior to the Elite Series of the week, kind of enhance your viewing experience as you watch it live on Bassmaster.com. It is BTL on a Wednesday. Jonny Schultz coming up. We'll be back right after this.
I'm the kind of guy that never leaves the house without a pocket knife, and Gamakatsu's come out with the EDC series of knives. EDC stands for everyday carry, so whether you're on the water or off, you can always have it with you. The best thing about it to me is that assisted open feature. With this D2 blade, you've got it right here at your fingertips, so if you can't find your scissors, you need to cut a knot, you need to cut your braid, you've always got it. Make sure you check it out. Never leave home without your Gamakatsu EDC knife.
Born in Japan, using technology, innovation, and precision, Sunline produces the widest selection of fishing lines at the most technologically advanced line factory in the world. Manufactured at the strictest tolerances to produce victories at the highest levels of tournament bass fishing. From household names like Christie, Swindle, and Cruz, to young guns like Cook, Logan, New, and Welcher, they all trust Sunline to take them to the top of the leaderboard. Choose the line that will give you the strength to guarantee your confidence. Sunline.
Yes.
Fishing isn't just a hobby, it's an obsession. Whether it's blazing hot or bitterly cold, bright sunshine, raining, or even snowing, someplace, somewhere, there's a fish that's ready to bite. And as the angler, you need baits that will catch the fish anywhere, anytime, no matter the conditions. From throwing topwaters to cranking the depths, know the baits to throw. Choose Spro.
In 2023, we became a household name in the crappie fishing world thanks to Power Breaks, the game changer. Hey, bass fishing world, buckle up, because you're next. It's going to be fun. Welcome to the next evolution of our product line, Power Breaks Sidekick, designed to install right on your shallow water anchors. We are the first and only fishing brake company to offer a breakaway system. Just like with the Game Changer, the Power Brake Sidekick has it as well. And it's not a matter of if you're going to need it, it's when. Power Brakes, the most durable fishing brakes available on the market today. Made right here in the USA with our rock-solid 2-year warranty. Hey, not all fishing brakes are built equally, and you owe it to yourself to find out why ours are different. Power Brake Sidekick. Order yours today at mypowerbrakes.com. You'll be glad you did.
All right, welcome back, BTL on a Wednesday. Big shout out to Brandon Belt for doing that and jumping on. And now we'll just jump right into, he's a bass fishing savant. That's a fair assessment. Are you familiar with Jonny Schultz?
Just from what you talked about on the show.
Yeah.
I've heard about the deep dive app. I've seen that, I think, ads on like YouTube and stuff like that.
Savant is a nice way to say like he nerds out hardcore on bass fishing stuff. He nerds out so hardcore that people came to him and were like, hey, do you think like you could make an app for all this stuff? And they had no idea about fishing. And Johnny was like, I thought no one would ever ask. And then he's like dedicated the last 5 years of his life to it.
That's funny.
What's up, Johnny? I didn't realize you were right there. How's it going?
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Johnny, this is CJ, Johnny.
How you doing?
How's it going, CJ?
You're holding your own, man. You said you were nervous before you jumped on today, and I was like, dude, we're talking fishing. We just talked fishing for 3 hours last night over a beer. Like, we just roll with it, man.
I know. We were talking to like 300,000 or 400,000 people, though, man. It's nervous, man.
That's a little generous, but yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
Didn't know you're that popular, Matt. Dang.
Yeah, no, neither did I. So last week we kind of had a caveat, not a caveat, an asterisk next to it, because you had all of these like how what baits were going to be popular based on history and everything, and then at the end we were like, but that was before everybody hung a minnow, jig head minnow, Demiki rigged, mid strolled, whatever you want to call it, and then 8 out of the top 10, that was primarily what they were using.
Yep.
But it was in one of the sections of the lake that you said was going to go down. And wasn't it in the exact section where you said it was going to go down, where 8 out of the top 10 anglers actually caught all of their weight or the majority of it?
Yeah, it was right in the zone that we were kind of expecting, which is really cool because it kind of leads into what we're going to talk about today. I got some graphics for you, Matt. And it's kind of strange because like pro fishing's in a weird spot where basically everyone, like you said, is mid strolling right now, or Demiki rigging, or whatever you want to call it, using forward facing sonar. And we're in another lake in Texas, pre-spawn bass with Lake Fork. So I don't really expect there to be much difference in the techniques that are being used. But where the anglers are fishing is really important. I would say, just based on live coverage and things like that, I would say maybe 75% of the field was doing the Demiki rig, that sort of technique, forward-facing sonar. But there are a lot of guys who caught like 15 pounds a day. And then there's some guys who are catching 26 to 30 pounds a day. And part of that is their ability to take advantage of forward-facing sonar, their knowledge around it, but also they were just in areas with better quality fish. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about how maybe anglers could think about finding those areas with the better quality fish for that technique, because I don't really think there's a lot of importance of breaking down like, hey, what bait and technique is going to dominate? Because I think it's pretty much going to be jerk bait, mid-strolling, Demiki rig this week.
Yeah, I told you it was smart.
Yeah.
Are we ready to go to the bar graphs? Are we ready to go to the bar graph? I don't want to prematurely pull up the bar graphs. There we go, right there.
Okay, so I'm kind of stealing my own thunder a little bit, Max. Actually, these are slides I was making for a YouTube video, which I am going to post, but I'm going to debut.
Well, I appreciate that. We get a little sneak peek of it, and then you can head over to Fish the Moment on YouTube and take an even, watch this, deeper dive into these numbers.
So this is basically data that we pulled from the deep dive database, over 10,000 tournament patterns. It's all top 10 finishes, patterns from top 10 finishes in pro level events. So what I did is basically broke out pre-live scope tournaments and post-live scope tournaments. There's basically a cutoff from like 2019-ish. So like 2000, like 1999 to 2019, when live scope really wasn't a player at all, versus 2020 to 2023.
We're just going out there blindly hoping to catch a fish. It's amazing we even caught one.
It's nuts.
Anybody.
Pure luck.
It should have just been first guy to catch one wins the tournament.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. So basically, we don't have the 2024 data in yet. We're crunching that right now, but like these tournaments just happened. So this is just through 2023. But one thing I found that was really interesting is before live scope and after live scope, guys are catching them in very similar water clarities and very similar sections of the lake across the board. This is summed up across like all seasons, all everything. I did some breakouts by season and things like that. But overall, what you see is that within every season, within all the things, the bass are living in the same spots. They haven't changed what water clarities they like, what sections of the lake they like. They're still living in the same general zones. So it's not necessarily a deal where it's like the fish are living in different places. Where these anglers are fishing have changed dramatically because of forward-facing sonar. It's more about how they're targeting them. And if you go to the next slide, it's also about the structures and covers that they're targeting. So if you scroll up just a little bit, there you go. So if we look at like the pre-live scope versus post-live scope, pre-live scope on the left, post-live scope on the right, shell beds, docks, offshore grass were pretty dominant covers. In pockets, rounded points, flat banks. These are kind of areas that were pretty good, more like hard cover, things that people could actually drag on, throw baits around in. These were dominant pre-live scope. Post-live scope, it's brush piles, still some offshore grass, still some docks, similar types of cover and structure a little bit, but we're starting to see a little bit more dominance of like, a brush pile deal. So things are starting to change a bit, but guys are still fishing kind of the same stuff overall.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we keep going down, now we have a post-live scope breakdown. So this is only tournaments from 2020 to 2023. And this is live scope guys who we basically categorize every tournament pattern if a guy used live scope or if he didn't. So live scope deal versus no live scope. Again, not much difference in what these guys are doing after the invent of live scope. Water clarity is the same, section of lake is the same. So these guys are just fishing the same stuff. It's not changing really at all where they are. But if we scroll down a little bit further, you can see that the types of structure and cover now are changing dramatically in the past 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So brush piles, bait fish, shell beds are kind of those key areas that are dominating pro fishing. So think about that, Matt. 50% of professional level tournament top 10 finishes over the past 3 years that we can see from live tournament coverage have come fishing brush piles or suspended bait fish.
And pre-live scope, those weren't even on the radar.
Yeah, not even on the radar. And then if you look at the number one structure, offshore flat, it was present in the other, years, but it's by far a lot more dominant. Guys are not catching them in the pockets as much as they were the flat banks. They're targeting rounded points, ditches, offshore flats. It's all offshore structure. And
all
it's
the stuff
all
that was intimidating and hard to fish without the forward-facing sonar because it was just random.
Just random.
Is this blowing your mind?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Is that what you found in your fishing over the last 3 or 4 years, even in Texas, like more brush piles and bait fish related and flats?
You know what? We always fish brush piles and stuff. You graph them or side scan them, and you might see some stuff in them or whatever. But it was just kind of just fish it for however long, and then if you didn't get a bite, you move on to the next one. Now you can just throw a trolling motor down and see if there's anything in there.
So you fish it much more effectively.
Yeah.
Okay. So brush piles and bait fish, 28% brush piles, 25% bait fish, and then I'm sure, and then there's the combination too of bait fish in brush piles or treetops.
Yep. Yeah. So obviously these guys are targeting a little bit different cover, some different areas around, but they're setting up in the same sections of the lake. So we keep scrolling down a little bit. You can see with our top baits, live scope versus no live scope. This doesn't include 2024. So the jig head minnow is going to be rising. It's going to be on the rise a lot once we add the 2024 data, but drop shot, jerk bait, Demiki rig, for the live scopers. Non-live scopers is still your chatterbaits, bladed jigs, your, Texas rigs, your flipping jigs. So there's guys who are still cashing top 10s with traditional baits, but it's just not as easy to do, put it that way, especially this year. So if we're taking a look at Lake Fork, if you kind of think about Lake Fork, this is the current water clarity from the Deep Dive app. So we got the water clarity in here from yesterday, or 2 days ago now at this point, from the 26th. And a couple of things that are interesting based on Lake Fork and based on what's happening. Ideally, anglers are going to be trying to target the clear water or some of the stained water, and they want to be fishing based on the season of the year, lower end for those pre-spawn bass. And the reason for that is because this dirtier water is going to be warming up, and those fish are going to be pushing towards the bank to start spawning here very soon in Texas. But down on the lower end, that water warms up a little bit slower. And there's a lot of clean water on the lower end. So there still should be a good concentration of those pre-spawn females. And even if there are some females up on the bank, the guys sight fishing are not going to be as efficient as the guys who are fishing on the lower end, scoping, catching those pre-spawners. And with the amount of clear water in the lake, I think there's going to be a lot of pre-spawn bass still available. Maybe it could be, still some fish could be caught a day or two up shallow spawning. I don't know exactly the situation going on with the weather and stuff on Lake Fork, like exactly, and all those things, but it feels like it's going to be kind of a repeated Toledo Bend. And if we scroll down one more, Matt, this is kind of what the data shows in our app as the best area of the lake, taking into all the lake conditions, the current, seasonal patterns, all of the factors that we've talked about. that lower end main lake seems like it could be a big player this week, just based on all the factors we just talked about.
Once again, as always, very impressive. How much weight you think it's going to take personally, Johnny? You think we're over 110 this week?
I mean, it's going to be Century Club again, but like for sure, I mean, these guys are straight smashing them. I mean, if you look at pre-practice content from people, guys are catching 10s like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna go down. You're gonna see the Ben Millikens of the world, the Fujitas of the world. These guys, they're gonna be forward facing sonar. They're gonna be using, maybe big swim baits and glide baits a little bit, maybe jerk baits, mid strolling, Demiki rigs, those sorts of things. I mean, it was crazy watching Fujita, Matt. He had 3 spinning rods in the deck of the boat all week. He never pulled out more than 3 rods. And he threw those 3 baits all week.
And he was giving them the beans too. I mean, he was jacking them like they were an 8 foot of hydrilla with a 8 foot flipping stick and a 2 ounce weight. Snelled.
Yep. He's just smashing them. And it's like, I don't know. It's when you see someone doing that, we talked about this a little bit, Matt, when you called earlier in the week. It's almost like bass fishing is becoming like crappie fishing in an extent. I don't know exactly how true this is going to be, but it's like, when you think about crappie fishing, how many baits do you take crappie fishing, Matt?
I got 1 box.
Okay, 1 box.
Yeah.
There maybe is a few more things you might need to do for bass, but it's getting to the point, and I've heard there's a couple pros on tour, especially some of the young guns, who they may only have 6 boxes of baits in their boat, and they got like 10 rods, and they're all spinning rods, or a couple bait casters, because it's just straight up wacky rigs, a bunch of different types of shad shaped baits and jig heads, and it's becoming more like crappie fishing to an extent. I mean, with Fujita, what he did, he was literally just crappie fishing to an extent for bass for 4 straight days. It wasn't really, I mean, it's not exactly that. I know there's some nuance to it, but it's kind of similar. And you're the crappie expert, Matt. Would you kind of agree a little bit with that?
Yeah, definitely. As far as every day is different, but the way I target crappie is I put it on their head. And now the thing is nuance, especially with crappie. Sometimes they want a 32nd ounce jig. Sometimes they want a big 1/4 ounce hair. Sometimes they want it dropped directly on their head. Sometimes you have to swing it to them. Sometimes you have to pull it up slowly to get them to come up. Sometimes you shake it. Sometimes you dead stick it. And I think that's where we're seeing why some of these guys are consistently better than other guys who are doing the same thing, is because they understand the nuance. Obviously, Fujita understands the nuance. Patrick Walters understands the nuance. And you've got a bunch of other guys. This is the first time you've got a bunch of guys that are learning as they go.
Yeah.
So they're dangerous, and especially when they're biting. But when there's a little bit of finicky or pressure or changing conditions or shifting or movement of the fish, is just based on what I've noticed on watching it the last couple years. That's where the guys who really shine at it and understand the difference. Like, I know that Davey Height was on Bass Live and he was talking, the big change we're talking about is whether it's a 1/4 or a 3/16. And he was kind of like, but like, that's a micro nuance that can make all the difference between not catching them and catching them. And whether you're going with a 3-inch armor shad or a 5 or 6 inch fluke style bait, and then whether you're shaking it or bombing it to them, like, that's all stuff that relates to crappie too. Yeah. We haven't even gotten into the scent. We haven't even gotten to the distance from the boat. There's a bunch of guys that are now and have been in the past believing, they're able to cast a fish that they see on scope, but they believe the beam is impacting the fish's ability to bite. So now they're beaming them. They're making a mental note of where it is. They're swinging it away, and then they're blind fishing them. There's other guys who stay on them consistently. It seems crazy, but there's guys who insist on casting 70 to 100 feet in front of the boat because there's other guys who are literally 10 feet in front of the boat. Yeah. There's so many nuances and changes in this thing that you understand it because you fish, right?
Yeah.
And you have the live scope and the forward facing sonar, and you're trying to figure it out and get better with it for all the tournaments. But man, there's a lot going on there that I don't think the average viewer who hasn't experienced it can understand at this point in time.
Yeah, no, there's a lot going on there, man. It's just everything. I mean, just on a local lake where I live, I mean, you're looking at the grass and you're shining, and all of a sudden I have one in perspective, I have one in forward. Like, you scan on something, you actually see the fish swimming away from you. So It's like, They feel that and it's weird.
I don't understand though, because in some lakes they do, and some lakes they don't. So like Ouachita, you could stick it right on that fish, keep on it, and it would bite 20 feet from the boat. Like it did not care at all. Table Rock, you put it on it and that thing goes, whoa, and then it's gone.
Yep.
You know, some lakes you could drop it right on their head and they're like, what's that? And they swim up and eat it. Other lakes, you drop it within 20 feet of them and it's like an atomic bomb went off.
So the lakes that are like that, and they come right up to it, they probably don't get a lot of pressure. The lake at the house, it gets pounded.
They know.
Yeah, everybody has it, or they hear them transducers pinging and everything else. Like, I think it's just a pressure deal.
Yeah.
And then boats slap.
And there's some nuance to that too, Matt, in terms of thinking about, like, I guess there's all these little small tricks and stuff like that people are picking up with the forward-facing sonar. But think about back in the day when guys were flipping. I'm thinking 1990s, you know, Denny Brower, Tommy Biffle, these type of guys.
Blockett in there. He was a big-time flipper.
Blockett. I mean, these guys with the
badass flipping.
The chartreuse grub, and then they were doing the pork, they were doing this plastic, they were flipping the tube, they're swimming the the bacon rind over there for Davy Height, like all these like little nuances of like just flipping. Like everyone thinks it's just flipping laydowns, but guys were dialing in all these different things, different casts, different weights of the jigs, all these things for years. And it's the same thing as fishing up shallow, fishing target rich environments. And so it's not like the actual process of dialing in these small nuances has changed at all. This has been part of bass fishing. Think about spinnerbait guy. How many blades and different colors and trailers and all kinds of stuff does someone have when they're dialing in their spinnerbait fishing on Grand Lake? It's just now guys are having to do it with forward-facing sonar, and it's the exact same process. And it's been the same process for every single technique throughout the history of bass fishing. It's just now it's having to happen with this. And I think that the addition of the technology is making it maybe a little bit more difficult to come to terms with for guys. And I think that makes sense in my head. At least I understand where people are coming from that side. But when you're thinking about forward-facing sonar, it's not just like we talked about. Everyone always says this. It's not just point at them and cast and catch the fish. It was like that maybe 3 years ago. It's not like that anymore when everyone's doing it. And now it's thinking about like, okay, what was your process? Maybe you're a really good crankbait fisherman. What was your process for figuring out on your home lake which crankbait to throw? Flat-sided, this depth, this line size, this rod, this retrieve, the stop and go. All those things that you had to master over the years with a crankbait, you have to do that now with forward-facing sonar, and everyone's doing that. And the guys who have gotten ahead on that learning curve, the Drew Gills of the world, the Jacob Wheelers of the world, those guys, they're now figuring out, okay, I can throw a little Nico rig and let it fall past those fish and they'll eat it off the bottom. I can fish a big giant fluke over the top of some fish's heads and they'll come up and crush it if I reel it fast. And you have, 10 rods in the boat. And now instead of it being 7 spinner baits with 6 different blade combinations and all that stuff, it's now 7 Demiki rigs with different combinations. But it's the same thing. So I think that once you kind of overcome that mental hurdle, it is just another fishing technique that you have to master, just like anything else we've ever done.
Absolutely.
Well stated.
No, absolutely. I agree.
Are the team tournament guys putting scopes in the back of the boat?
I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them. Ain't nobody I know that is doing that. So I think I'm going to be the first.
I promise you there's guys doing it.
I'm going to be the first boat around where I live with the brakes. So
nice.
Yeah.
We get to go test out the power brakes today.
Yeah.
Here at any time we're headed to the pond. But yeah, there's I promise you there's guys that are double scoping the back, scoping the front, backs on a turret, front guys fishing. It's been going on in Oklahoma for like 3-4 years right now. And the nickels.
I mean, dude, even the live scope guys with who needs side imaging when you can just double live scope out both sides of the boat?
I'm not sold on that. I'm not going to lie, Johnny. I'm not sold on that yet. I
like side imaging. I still love.
I think that's all show and no go.
Yeah. that Luke Duncan podcast he did with Taku.
Yeah.
And like Taku told him, he's like, I couldn't understand side imaging. He said, but I understood live scope. So I did that. And he said it just made sense to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, somebody that's never seen side imaging but understands live scope, I could definitely see how that could make sense to a person. But, like I was told at the Open last year at the Ozarks, like guys had the little deals at the
on
console.
the turn on the side.
Yeah, and they were just idling boat docks and just
100%.
They never like fished them. They just like
I watched it. Now, what a lot of guys also did, because that's a lake you could do it. If they didn't have the turret, they just dropped their trolling motor, turn it to the right, have their Garmin's networked or whichever brand that they had networked, and then just idle down and it'd be the same thing as having a turret
and
watch it on the back screen.
And it's the same deal though. Like in Central Texas, in some area, a lot of lakes down there have boat docks. Before live imaging, a guy would do the same thing with side imaging.
Yeah.
And just go down the deal and mark brush piles or hard spots or, something different.
And I still do that to this day. That's
absolutely
still a good
old
strategy.
School.
That's old school, man. It's old school.
One thing on that too that I still think is really fascinating, especially from that data we showed earlier from the deep dive app, Matt, is that the fish are living right now, at least in the same general zones of the lake. The seasonal patterns, everything that we're talking about, these fish are not changing necessarily as much as maybe we think, at least in this exact moment. We are finding fish in areas that maybe are less obvious or maybe less textbook. And there are fish that are just swimming out randomly in the middle. But if you look at a lake from that big perspective, the super high level view, like where is the water clearing up on your lake? What's the major section of lake and minor section of lake that like lower end, mid lake, upper end, or like first half of the creek, back half of the creek, things like that. Those bass still have those general ideas in them. And I think that within that, like within a major section or minor section of lake, the fish might be doing a little bit different things, but there's a really big difference from being in the stained water in the mid lake versus being on the clear water in the lower end of the lake. And if you're fishing the clear water on the lower end, you might be getting your butt kicked by other guys who are fishing mid-lake stained water. And when you're talking about a lake as big as Toledo Bend or even like a Lake Fork, which isn't even that big, but there's a lot of water to cover. If you have a day of practice as a weekend guy, or maybe 2 days, 3 days of practice, even as an Elite Series guy, it's hard to cover every single combination of major, minor section of lake. And the guys that have that understanding of bass movement, bass behavior, they still can excel. And then if you add into it the guys who are really dialing in the forward-facing sonar stuff and taking advantage of that new untapped technique, they can go even further. So I do think that there is value in just understanding lakes in general at this high level, and maybe even more so than ever, just because now when you get into a certain zone, it's so much easier to find the fish with forward-facing sonar for a lot of guys, that it's now about which zone of the lake are you in versus can you find them in the zone you're in. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%. 100%. You ready to go fishing?
Yeah, man.
You got anything else, Johnny?
I think that's it for me.
Classic on Grand. The next time we have you on. So I'm headed to Santee Cooper this week, and then so like that 18th or 19th, that week before the Classic, dude, you're gonna have some really killer insights on Grand with the history that we've had there this time of year. I'm fascinated to see your predictions on Grand. But like I said, a lot of this material that goes into these slides that Johnny's showing here is what goes into the Deep Dive app.
Yep.
Check it out on Android or your Apple apps, and then also over on Fish the Moment on your YouTube channel, and then Bass Fishing Declassified.
Yep.
Is also Jimmy, you, and Matt, Stefan, and Miles.
Yep.
Those four. So did I cover that pretty good?
Yeah, that was great. And then also
people can get a hold of you.
You guys are wanting to forward-facing sonar at all, and you guys want a good technique that guys maybe aren't taking advantage of, check out the Hover Rig from Core Tackle. That
now he's pumping his lure brand there.
Hover Rig is definitely something that's.
Have you seen any of that Core Tackle stuff?
I've got them.
You like them?
Yeah, I mean
it's pretty cool.
They're good. I like it. I like you beefed up the hook on the newer stuff.
The tush.
Yeah. Well, even just the Hover Rig in general. Like they started offering some different hook sizes and stuff, and beefed up the hook a little bit. So
I got some juice for you on that. We're trying to come out with a heavier hook, like 4 and 5/0, that you can throw on a bait caster with the Hover Rig and a fluke. And I'm thinking about it like skipping boat docks, fishing bushes. But you know the Fujita technique where he's working the rod and stuff like that? Think about that, but with a 4, 5, 6/0 hook in a big fluke, and just jacking them out of shallow laydowns, bushes, stuff like that. I mean, I'm telling you, it could be a deal. So we're gonna be testing some of that stuff.
How much stuff do you have, quote, in the works? Like, give me just a ballpark number of stuff in the works between you and Matt.
I mean, I'm looking at like 10 different things on my desk right here that I don't want to talk about. We have so many things, Matt. We have so many good products and so many good like little ideas. So we're going to keep rolling them out. A lot of it is for the forward-facing sonar stuff, just because there's an emerging demand there. But we also have some traditional stuff. I mean, we got the Ozark rig that we've talked about before. I got one on the deck skier that's just a good standard flipping rig, fishing down the bank, stuff like that. So we got other stuff too. But yeah, we got some juice, Matt, that is coming out pretty soon.
All right, that'll work. Thanks, Jonny. That was freaking cool stuff.
Good deal. Thanks for having me on, Matt.
All right, later.
See you.
All right, that was Jonny Schultz. A lot going on in that mind.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It is. You got to check it out. It's pretty cool what he, what he's built over there with deep diving with Fish the Moment. So, and it's all like accurate because it's all based on observed and stuff. Like I'll be like, you can't really predict this stuff, and then that's how it'll happen.
Yeah. No, I think the coolest deal, like I've watched the Toledo one that's like showing the water clarity on the lakes. It's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, that's pretty sweet.
No, it's handy. All right, I think we're good. A big shout out to Jonny. Big shout out to Brandon Belt. Big shout out to you for supporting the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, for making the drive down here. Also, the sponsors for it. You did get your AFCO pack, right?
Yes, sir.
AFCO pack, Sunline, Denali rod, 7-foot 6-inch extra heavy flipping stick. I figured just after chatting with you that might be kind of in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, no, that definitely can put it to work for sure.
So
I definitely use that Sunline. That's the deal.
Shooter 20 and 25.
Yes, sir.
That 660 of 25, I can make one last all year.
No, dude,
just because the diameter of it, and I guess I don't use it that much.
Yeah. Well, it's just like I was telling you last night, like me working rotation, like I've used other brands of line before, and then you'd come back and then you'd have to re-spool. I've had Sunline on for months, and it's still good. Just squirt it with some freaking line conditioner and roll on. So
let's go try to catch a 10.
You said 13, dude.
No.
They got the Share Lunker program here or what?
No.
What are we going to do if we catch one? We just take a picture and
I think we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. Let's just start with one. Let's just start with one fish and see what happens.
Let's go fishing, man.
That works. We were headed fishing. Shout out to the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. Also, bassfishinghof.com and the 5 new inductees. If you didn't get a chance to listen to Mark Zona yesterday, go back and listen to that. Good show today. Tomorrow, the return of the man Frank Scalish, Uncle Frank, day 4 on Uncle Frank. We're going fishing. That's all we got. See ya.